Good afternoon. My name is Trevor Snapp. I've been a foreign correspondent, photojournalist for the last decade, working in places like Libya, Somalia, El Salvador, and a few other places. During this time, since I started, press freedom has drastically been reduced. It's gotten really, really bad, as you can see from this map. And in fact, a lot of countries that I could go and report on, like Libya, I can't really even go anymore. This is a big problem because then, the world and people inside these places are not getting the news. An example of that is Darfur, which was all in the news, 10 years ago, and there has been 2 journalists that have been in there since about 2006, and very little stories. Oops, I didn't want to go there quite yet. Now I work as program director, a director of programs at Nuba Reports. Nuba Reports is an experiment to address this issue by investing in local networks. We're a nonprofit, single-issue news organization that is based in Sudan's war zones, and we take information from there. We broadcast it out to the world and also back into Sudan. This is a short video which will give you a little idea of the work we do. Just a sec to load.
Generations of Sudanese have grown up in conflict, violence which the government hides from the world and its own people. We are bringing light to an invisible war. The journalists of Nuba Reports are victims of this war. They are refugees, their families displaced, and their dreams for the future delayed. But they are also young people who have chosen to document what is happening to their homeland so that you can know about it, so that governments can act, media can report, and history is recorded. They work on the front lines of the battlefields, in refugee camps and remote villages, places where NGOs and journalists are banned. Using GPS data and video, they show the reality on the ground, often at great danger. Help them tell their stories, make it news. Their family.
So, Nuba Reports was formed in 2011 after the independence of South Sudan. As you can see here, the states of South Kordofan and Blue Nile, there was rebels that lived there, and they had supported the South and fought for the South for many, many years. When the countries were divided, they were left on the wrong side of the border. So literally days after independence happened, the war started up again in these 2 areas, and civilians were caught in the crossfire. Ryan Boyette, a humanitarian worker living in the region, stayed behind while all the NGOs pulled out, and he worked with some of his friends and colleagues to start documenting what was happening. There was a lot of disappearances, there was bombing, there was assassinations, all the things that happen in war, and nobody was paying attention, it felt like. So when we started this, we wanted it to be different. You can go to our site now and check out some of the work we do. We wanted it to be flexible, we wanted it to be fast, we wanted to be able to be edgy, creative, innovative, do new things, try new things. We were also blessed at the time because this is the time that online video is becoming big outside of Sudan and inside of Sudan. So we invested in video. We invested in video for 2 reasons. One, because it's powerful, especially emotionally, and also because with minimal training, people on the ground can start gathering important news that can be then edited and analyzed by more professional journalists. I'm just going to talk about some of the cool things I think we've done in the last few years. We did a Kickstarter to launch our organization. We raised $40,000 to buy gear and training. We also took a model not of just posting raw video to the web, but matching our journalists on the ground with professional editors so that their video would get the same treatment that you would have on New York Times or CNN. We had a very firm belief at the very beginning that citizen journalism is just a stage, it's a phase. People that are committed citizen journalists should become journalists. There's no reason why not. We made a very nice and pretty website. We invested in tracking all the bombings that were happening in civilian areas. We've documented over 4,000 bombs dropped since the war began. Well, not since the war began, since 2012 when we started that. We made a pivot very early on when we realized that politically the international community was not going to invest much in changing the situation on the ground. The people that were going to be people that were living inside Sudan. So we partnered with local organizations to get the news into Sudan, especially places like Khartoum, where these wars are based, but don't really know anything about what's going on because journalism is banned in these regions. But we also pivoted quickly when we realized that not many people were going to actually come to our website. It was a niche website. It was only useful for actors in the region, really. So we invested in partnerships. We found fertile ground with a lot of great organizations that worked closely with us to craft content that mattered to their audience. These are some of the organizations we've had the pleasure of working with. Since that time, we are expanding. We've done a lot of across Sudan because we realize the problem is intractable and you have to have a holistic way of viewing of it to understand what's really happening. We're doing a lot of stuff with WhatsApp as a broadcasting platform, but also as a way of gathering news. We've definitely played with drones. We made a refugee bot recently to give people an experience of why people were leaving Sudan and going to Europe. We haven't launched it, but we've been playing with it. We also are looking at different types of investigations that we can be doing in the region. We work light and fast. We also work in a very high, difficult security situation. Our founder's been bombed. We've been hacked numerous times. And the only way to deal with this is to be flexible and to be very creative in working in a very low resource environment. The point I want to leave everybody with, I guess, is that, like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of stories that are not being told because the typical foreign correspondent that looks a lot like me can't parachute in and get the story anymore. So right now, we're just letting those stories go untold. And the only way to change that is to collaborate and to invest in local networks and to use the technology that we have to get those stories out there. Thank you.